This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our family of growing affiliates right across Canada, the United States, the Caribbean, Central America, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Jeffrey Fine, and he has a PhD in humanistic psychology. He is a certified eating disorder specialist and is best known for helping thousands of people in his 30 years of practice. Dr. Jeffrey uses a directive approach to help clients solve their problems by stripping away their emotional clutter and providing them with tools they need to move confidently ahead in their lives. He gives clients a solid plan for how to cope with the most demanding days of their life. Now, I received a press release from Dr. Fine on Friday, and it's Why Avatar Didn't Win the Oscars. Psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Fine asserts the corporate world is bulldozing America. When Catherine Bigelow's The Hurt Locker won Best Picture, many believed that James Cameron's Avatar had been robbed. Speculation focused on Oscar politics and the director's ill-fated marriage. But noted psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Fine says the reason is simpler. Avatar didn't win because the Academy missed the movie's deeper meaning and chose a real-life film instead. Now, those who've argued that Avatar mimics Dances with Wolves or Pocahontas prove Dr. Fine's point. The message is Avatar is not a simplistic return to nature or to a previous evolutionary stage, Dr. Fine argues, adding, it may be the next leap in the evolution of consciousness and the only one that may hold any promise of survival. Food for thought so far. It gets more. Pointing to greed and cynicism that not only mark much of American culture, but have hardened American hearts, he says that unless we wake up to Avatar's message, humanity will be lost. And this is a quote, the film should be seen by every man, woman, and child, he says, suggesting that parents should take their teens and tweens to see it and discuss hidden meanings. I see you, for example, comes from the Sanskrit namaste, which translate, the God in me sees the God in you, or I see myself in your eyes. Like Star Wars, Avatar also appeals to our collective unconsciousness, or world soul, the Navi experience of unity of consciousness with other beings, all of which, themselves included, are really just manifestations of one Ah, or Yahweh, echoing our ancestors' belief in interconnected, ever-changing, intelligent web of life symbolized by the world tree. When I come back from this commercial break, X-Zone Nation, Dr. Jeffrey Fine is my very first guest in this segment of the X-Zone. And if you'd like to find out more about Dr. Fine, his website is www.thenewparenting.com. That's www.thenewparenting.com. Once again, Dr. Jeffrey Fine is my special guest this hour, and we're going to start the hour off with Dr. Fine discussing why Avatar didn't win the Oscars. 1-800-610-7035 is my toll-free number worldwide. That's 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Don't forget, starting in the month of May, a brand new network from the Relmar McConnell Media Company, the Angel Channel. And on the Angel Channel will be the premier show, the New Age Channel. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with Dr. Jeffrey Fine as we continue.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.matstein.com. Dr. Jeffrey Fine is my very special guest this hour, Exonation. www.newparenting.com is his website. And Dr. Fine, welcome back to the Exxon. Great having you with us.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here, Rob.
Why Avatar didn't win the Oscars? What prompted you to write this article?
Well, I saw the film.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the film a few days before the awards were given out. I was completely bowled over by this film. I felt that the message in this film was absolutely essential for our time.
Mm-hmm.
The director absolutely knew we are standing at a crossroads in our world. The question at the crossroad, the two directions that we're talking about, is either a complete takeover by corporate America, high-tech medical systems, high-tech systems of commercial business that pull mothers out of the home, that have done a great deal to destroy the American family, even though a lot of verbiage is given to the idea of family values. But this was more than family values. This was about bonding. The scenes when they put their braids together, and it looked like they were either elements of neurons or some sort of DNA structure that were joining harmoniously into one. This is what bonded relationships would look like if they were given a visual metaphor. A bonded relationship is an intuitive, extrasensory, deep connected relationship that is not through the intellect. It's through the limbic or emotional center in the brain. It allows a mother, for instance, to tell exactly what her child's need is before the child ever mentions anything, and be able to answer that need. You know, it's an interesting story. There were some European scientists in Uganda that were studying the birthing practices and parenting practices of the Ugandan mothers. And one of the wives of the scientists was walking down the street, and she looked at this group of Ugandan mothers. And, of course, they were naked from the waist up, and they had their babies on their chest, and they were naked, and they were totally clean. So she looked at the mothers and she said, how do you keep your baby so clean? So the mothers giggled, and they said, we take our babies to the bushes. So the woman looked back and said, yes, but how do you know when your babies have to go to the bushes? So they chuckled again and said, how do you know when you have to go to the bushes? In other words, they were so connected with those babies that they felt their needs and urges in the same way that they would feel them in their own body. That's an example of a bonded relationship. This film was about bonded relationships and conscious people who recognized that the world was a web of living beings, themselves included, and that they were all part of one. Now, we know in mystical teachings and spiritual teachings that everything is one.
Yes.
Nothing is separate. It's one. And they called their God or their uni-being that they were part of Yahweh, which is very close to Yahweh. And I don't think that was a mistake. And the problem is that it's very hard for our culture. Even though we loved it, people were going to this film. They couldn't stop going. I was reading about people blogging on this film. They were seeing the film in their dreams. There were several university scientists that were opining that the 3D format that was used, and it even was corroborated by James Cameron, the producer and director of the film, that this kind of 3D can work its way into the brain in a way that has never been done in film before. Not only were people dreaming the film, they were going back and seeing the film 3 and 4 times. So it's having an amazing effect on fans. And I think it's because this, on an unconscious level, speaks to the split off part of ourselves that used to be connected with nature. The fact that they were in total harmony. And again, here we go back to what I was saying about standing at a crossroads,
right.
because the enemy in the film were Earth people. They looked like Americans,
Yep.
corporate types, military types with tremendous machines, and they had actually come to the planet Pandora to rape and pillage. They had destroyed the Earth, and they were out of resources, and so they had come to this peaceful planet in order to take over theirs. And the problem was that their most sacred possession and sacred field was a holy tree, the world tree, which appears in every spiritual and mystical literature, going back, to Greeks. All cultures talk about a world tree. It represents the interconnected, ever-changing, intelligent web of life. And this tree was standing right on top of the resources that these invaders wanted. And so they came with their bulldozers to take it over. So here was a clear metaphor. It was so loud and clear. What do we want for our children? What do we want in our world? Commercial, corporate life, or connection and reconnection with nature and normal life, with loving and families? So I think this spoke to the collective unconscious. I think that Star Wars was also a film that appealed to our collective unconscious. But this one was even more powerful. Now, the reason I think that they did not choose that film, it was nominated.
Yes.
But, people speculate all kinds of things when it comes to the politics of the Academy. Most people were very upset and felt that Cameron's Avatar had been robbed. But they were speculating that the poor marriage that he had just gone through, the divorce with his wife, Catherine Bigelow, who was the director of The Hurt Locker, may have been one of the reasons. But I don't believe that. I think that it's much simpler. I think it didn't win because the Academy absolutely missed the movie's deeper meaning. And they chose, as establishment folks, a more, quote, real-life film instead. Now, you had seen Hurt Locker.
Yes,
okay?
I had, yes.
What was your feeling about that film? I didn't see it.
Hurt Locker was just like any other war movie. It had no significant plot as far as I could see. I was very bored with it within the first 30 minutes. And after seeing it, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "This won over Avatar? What were the people at the Academy smoking when they voted?"
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but that's, I think, the response that most people had to them stepping past Avatar and giving the award to Hurt Locker. A rather ordinary film at best. But I think, again, it goes back to the fact that, conventional, established people, the establishment, don't think in terms of the spiritual, deeper, subconscious, and hyperconscious realities. This film went right over their heads.
And yet movies like E.T. did fantastic. And E.T. in itself, Doctor, was a spiritual movie for those of us who understand the deeper meaning and the connectivity between one another. That's I got a lot out of watching E.T., and yet when it came to The Hurt Locker, it was like, sucks, next.
Well, you mentioned E.T., and E.T. had this marvelous filming from the level of a small 2-year-old, or the level of this creature E.T., and of course it brought so much empathic feeling when he was sick. You see all these legs and pipes and all of this medical equipment, and of course it was the frightening experience that any of us feel when we are outsized by our technology. I think that a lot of what's happened in our world is that as our technology gets bigger and bigger, our sense of personal power gets smaller and smaller. We stand in front of an enormous machine in a hospital, and our insides shake. Our machines have gotten much bigger. Our technology has gotten much bigger than we are. And I'm not even talking about weaponry now. I'm just talking about ordinary technology. You know, my wife and I wrote a book, and it's selling very well. People are giving us tremendous buzz and feedback. The book is called The Art of Conscious Parenting. And that's exactly what it is. It's the natural way to give birth, bond with, and raise healthy children.
Well, you know, you and I are going to be talking about your book that you just talked about, The Art of Conscious Parenting, when we come back from this news break. So please stand by, Doctor. Dr. Jeffrey Fine is our special guest, X-Zone Nation. His website, www.thenewparenting.com. That's www.thenewparenting.com. The name of his new book is The Art of Conscious Parenting. We're going to be talking to Dr. Fine about his book on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. That's 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Dr. Jeffrey Fine is my guest. Once again, he is the author with his wife of a book that is receiving rave reviews, The Art of Conscious Parenting. And the doctor's website is www.thenewparenting.com. I'll be back with Dr. Fine on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
It was a terrifying experience.
I thought we was going to go to jail for murder.
That day, we were a little behind, so we worked until it was starting to get dark.
We loaded up the equipment and hadn't driven very far when we caught glimmers of this glow coming through the trees. I urged Mike to hurry up and get up there.
Travis had the door open before we even stopped. As he got closer, I heard the sound.
One of the guys said, "You feel that?"
I really panicked then.
I told him, "Get the hell out of here."
It didn't come directly to me, it came to a deputy sheriff.
Three of us volunteered right away to tell him what had happened.
Sheriff Gillespie definitely didn't believe it.
He says that we better be certain because we can get in a lot of trouble.
When we went to search the next day, they split us up, and the whole time the deputies asked me, if you just tell us where the body is, we can all go home and get this over with.
We're talking about 100 people combing through the wooded area. Nothing turns up.
All week long, I've been hearing they're going to set it up to make you guys look guilty.
We're a rough-looking bunch then. Some of us have been in trouble with the law before.
And y'all ain't never going to come out of that jailhouse.
We couldn't get out.
I tried to sneak out the back door the day of the polygraph test. I was scared to death.
On top of that, you have media.
I literally would be on two telephones at the same time.
We've even got some cooks in here now that's coming in and out to see the freak show, as they call it.
Everyone descends.
I just wasn't going to stand there and listen to it anymore.
Granny says, "This is Travis. I'm back. I need help."
When I did hear that he had been returned, it was almost as unbelievable as the original thing.
I just looked at my mom and says, "I told you we didn't kill him."
Travis Walton reappeared after several days with a bizarre story about a ride in an unidentified flying object.
People were desperate to explain it away.
Why are you sticking up with Travis for all this time? You know this really didn't happen.
What happened to Travis after we took off in that truck, I can't tell you.
I hated Travis for a long time after this. My whole world just tore up.
But I believe every word Travis said about it. He's never lied to me about nothing.
It's a net negative. We lost our jobs in the immediate aftermath.
And now you're not able to talk about it with anyone because you know that they're going to laugh at you, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
But if you don't come out and tell your story, somebody else is going to tell it for you.
There's a degree of responsibility. Certainly I have to accept the bad. If I can direct what's happened in a way that I can make something good happen in the world, I'm looking for it.
Order your copy of Travis, The True Story of Travis Walton, today at www.traviswaltonthemovie.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Jeffrey Fine is my special guest this hour in the X-Zone. His website is www.thenewparenting.com. That's www.thenewparenting.com. He and his wife have authored a book entitled The Art of Conscious Parenting. Tell us a little bit about your book, Doctor.
Well, my wife and I believe very, very much in natural life. We believe that great nature has given us everything that we need in order to live. Unfortunately, because of greed and commercialism, the few have garnered things that should be belong to the many. Now, I'm not discussing any kind of political fixes for that. I don't think they work. The experiment in communism didn't work. And we see a lot of problems with our free market system. But it's all about greed. It's not about the systems. But I think that our thrust of interest was really that American women are facing a tragic loss. With the dominance of technological birth, American mothers and children are being robbed of the simple natural processes of birth and bonding. Now, nature has built in to every mother and child everything that is needed for birth to take place as naturally as breathing. Everything in the process of birth, if, and this is the big caveat, if it's not disturbed. When animals get ready to give birth, they find a quiet place in the forest and they go give birth. If even a twig cracks, they stop the process. And we are built the same way. The least disturbance, a most undisturbed birth, will allow a cascade of hormones to take charge of the process and to handle it exactly. Nature is so miraculous that, for example, mother's milk. Mother's milk is designed in such a way to provide for the human infant exactly what it needs, in exactly the right proportions at every single moment. For example, in a baby's body after the birth experience, there are very high levels of the anxiety hormones. And babies that are not breastfed will remain with those high levels of adrenaline in their system, and that can last for 2 to 3 weeks before it comes down. If a baby is breastfed, within the first 24 hours, those levels go right back to normal. So you don't have a crying baby. You don't have a colicky, upset baby. And all during the term of breastfeeding, some people will breastfeed for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Now, it's interesting. I did a study. I wrote an e-book. It's on my website called The Story of Connection, which is a study of the animal primates, gorillas and chimpanzees, and their birthing and parenting practices compared to human primates. And what's very interesting is that the animal primates, the mother will always keep the baby on her body or next to her until these chimps and gorillas reach adolescence. Now, in our culture, unfortunately, the human primates, particularly in the modern Western cultures, don't take care of their babies. They separate from them at birth or soon thereafter. And this is absolutely connected to all of the violence that we see in our world. The modern Western cultures have a violence that is almost undescribable. No order in the classrooms. Younger and younger children committing suicide. Teenagers and preteens. Shootings in the school. Terrible violence. A great deal of what we classified as attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. A lot of this has to do with the temperament of the child. What's interesting is that Dr. James Prescott, he's a research psychologist. He was with the National Institutes of Health in Washington, the NIH, and under their auspices, he was with them for 16 years. He wanted to find out what is that. He was doing studies about the relationship between maternal and paternal care, and the outcomes with the children. He wanted to find out what was it that was causing so much violence in our culture, and what was the difference between children who were raised in one way that made them peaceful or violent. He chose a study that had been done of 49 cultures. It was a long-term study, and he explored the factors around the beginnings of life And the way these children turned out at adolescence, when they started to come into their own at 12, 13, 14 years old. Incidentally, the adolescence of a gorilla is only 4 years. So, it's not the same time as with a human.
Yeah.
Nor am I suggesting that humans should be breastfed till they're 14. But he studied these 49 cultures. And what he found was that there was one single factor that determined whether the offspring grew up to be violent or peaceful. And that one factor was sensory deprivation. If the child was deprived of the sensory stimuli, they grew up to be violent. And how did they determine it? Looking at these cultures, the cultures where the mothers kept their babies on their bodies. Mm-hmm. They wore them in slings. They carried them in papoose-like things on their back. But they wore them on their bodies for at least the first year of their life. In the cultures that did not wear their babies, the children turned out to be violent. Where the babies were worn, they turned out to be peaceful. Now, when you talk about sensory stimulation, the first stimulation that an infant gets is in the womb. In the womb, the mother is constantly moving. That baby is moved from side to side and back to front and upside down, and mothers are turning over in their sleep, getting up, walking around. They're also being touched by the internal organs surrounding them inside the mother's body. And once they come out of that body, they need the same stimulation. They need the same stimuli of movement and touch. If they are deprived of that, they grow up displaying anger, frustration, inability to concentrate, a great deal of it. Now, I've also got studies in my book that talk about the fact that the umbilical cord, which every medical text states should not be cut until it ceases to pulsate. In other words, there's a heartbeat in there. That is a blood flow supply, bringing oxygen to the child. And yet doctors in hospitals continue to cut the umbilical cord prematurely. This causes a lack of oxygen to the brain, which leaves lesions on the brain. And those lesions can turn into later learning disabilities and even mental deficiencies of various kinds. Our book is about why nature has set us up in the way that we have been designed. William Pierce, who's a friend of mine, William Pierce is an MD who authored with his wife the best-selling The Baby book. He was the first one to coin the phrase attachment parenting. And he made it very, very popular. Millions of people have read that book and are trying to apply all of its teachings. Now, what he said about my book after he read it was that it was a why-to book as well as a how-to book, because he doesn't go into the reasons. I have 50 different studies on each chapter that you can see how it was proven that each of the factors that we speak about is true. So he says it's a why-to book as well as a how-to book. He says the authors make the case for natural birth, bonding, and parenting. He says it's well written and an easy read.
But doctor, if your book is telling people this, and apparently the medical community has been aware of this, why is it that when a child is born now, we cause the child to be basically stressed out, and we are causing the problems instead of following your very simple advice and let nature take its course?
Well, that's the key question. You have just asked the question that not enough people are asking. And we're hopeful that through our book and the work of many others, and my publicizing this message, that more women will not be robbed of the most beautiful and glorious process in their life. Giving birth is the most natural, beautiful, and ecstatic women get up from their birthing beds when they have a natural birth, feeling a sense of their own personal power. And when more women realize the power that can be gained through a natural birth, then what we're going to do is we're going to move birthing back into the realm of the feminine, and we're going to move technology into the service of birthing women and not its masters. The problem is that there's no money in it.
Oh.
The pharmaceutical companies, the companies that manufacture the baby food, they make money. So, of course, they are going to hire scientists who will say that this formula is better than what nature designed. I have about 25 studies in my book in the chapter on breastfeeding that explain exactly why and how that took place. It's all commercialism. Even birth. You know, if you go into a hospital, you can have a natural birth in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitals have, today, the big modern hospitals in most of the larger cities, have birthing centers. There's become such a demand from grassroots to be able to naturally give birth that midwives are allowed to give birth in the hospital, in the floor below the maternity floor, and that's where my child was born. It was our first child, and you know, I didn't know anything about this. Yes, I've been a psychologist for 30 years, but 10 years ago, I had no idea anything about natural birth. I was in alternative medicine. I had a spa for 5 years where I did fasting and vegetarian diets. I healed lots of people when the conventional docs gave them up, but I had no experience with this. So, you know, you ever get a phone call that changed your life?
Yes, sir.
I was sitting in my office, and the phone rang. It was my wife, and she told me that we were pregnant. Well, I have to know everything about everything. That's just the way I'm made up. So on my way home from the office, I stopped at Barnes & Noble to get all the books that I thought I would need to just brush up on what everybody had to say. When I got to the checkout, the girl looked over and said, "Dr. Fine, would you like some help with your books out to your car?" And that's when I realized that I had bought probably about 40 pounds worth of books. But I studied all of them, and of course I was a student of Joseph Chilton Pierce, who in 1982 published the book that rocked the psychological and medical community called The Magical Child. It was a multi-million seller. And he had said that the worst problem we have in terms of children is medical birthing, just as you've recognized in your question. So hopefully people will read this book. They'll go up on my website. They can read sections of the book in my different sections in there about breastfeeding and birth and so forth. They can order the book. They can also buy ebooks and join and become part of our club, our parenting club, and get notices and articles. And all of our blogs they'll be notified and be sent. So anyway, I'm hopeful that in the very near future I will be able to have a radio show where I'll be able to talk about these things on our radio show and interview guests who are part and parcel of the natural movement of birth and parenting, the conscious movement of birth and parenting. So I'll be facing your job, which is a little daunting to me. I'm a good talker, but I've never been a radio talk show host, so... As one friend of mine said, it's very different, Jeffrey. He said, you know, you're used to playing lead trombone. He said, now you're going to have to be the leader of the orchestra and let other people talk.
And you'll also have to play the trombone at times. Doctor, you and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exo Nation, Dr. Jeffrey Fine is our special guest. He and his wife authored The Art of Conscious Parenting. The website, You ready for this? thenewparenting.com. That's www.thenewparenting.com. Dr. Fine and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. Dr. Jeffrey Fine is my special guest. We're talking about his book that he wrote with his wife, The Art of Conscious Parenting. It's available by going to www.thenewparenting.com. That's www.thenewparenting.com. Doctor, where does the natural parenting procedure come into when we're looking at ADHD, ADD? Is this a major cause?
Well, I think that a lot of the problems that we have labeled as HD, ADHD, and attention deficit disorder, a lot of it is, first of all, kids generally are boisterous. One of the chief characteristics of a child is that they are so excited and happy and full of energy and jumping and running and laughing and playing. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's really not understood in our culture. Our culture is about work. Our culture is about training children as early as possible so that they will fit in to the cultural norms and basically be trained to get a good job so that they can make enough money to buy all of the things that we in our culture seem to feel that we need. It's interesting. I had an interview about 30 years ago with a guy named Ernest Dichter. Ernest Dichter was the first man to apply motivational research. He was a psychologist to why people buy, and he did a study for the Dodge Motor Car Company. And he determined that the reasons, the subliminal and unconscious reasons that men bought cars were varied, but they all had to do with some sort of a sexual underpinning. For example, the car represented a mistress. It was a status symbol. It was phallic, if it was like a little long sports car. And that the inside of the car represented a womb. All sorts of things like this. And so he directed their advertising program, and their sales jumped up 25%.
Wow.
So in the interview, I asked him, I said, so you're saying that we buy things all the time and we can't help it? So he said, yes, exactly. He said, advertising is so powerful that we all buy tons of things that we never use. They lay in drawers or in closets. But we can't refuse buying them. So I said, well, you must, be powerful enough knowing all of this to not. No, he said, absolutely the opposite. He said, I have all kinds of stuff that I have absolutely no use for. So that's the power of advertising and the motivation to consume.
Doctor,
I've lived in other countries. Pardon me?
Doctor, we've just run out of time for tonight, but you and I are going to be talking again on air in the very near future. So I want to thank you so much for your time tonight. Congratulations on a great book, and we look forward to sharing more time with you and learning more about natural parenting in the weeks and months to come. Exonation, our special guest has been Dr. Jeffrey Fine. His website is www.thenewparenting.com, and he and his wife are the authors of The Art of Conscious Parenting. Once again, their website, www.thenewparenting.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network and X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away.